really met Philip Ochieng except through his articles. I remember thinking when it was shared that he had been promoted to glory, something about PO, and I kept thinking, who is PO? But all the same, I want to derive joy in reading excerpts from the fifth columnist biography. And this is a section that talks about his career. And so here it goes. Learning to snoop for stories. Shortly after Kenya gained independence, Ochieng worked with the Ministry of External Affairs for about 2 years before George Githii, then editor-in-chief of The Nation, hired him as a reporter in 1966. Before then, the latter-day fifth columnist had already made the first tentative steps into the world of letters. While serving as a protocol officer, Ochieng began his first contribution in the world of journalism. He wrote numerous letters for the Daily Nation's Letters to the Editor page, mainly on what he describes as bureaucratic inefficiency and the emergent corruption and tribalism in President Kenyatta's young government. Such was the fervor in his letters that Githii noticed them and opened the door to Ochieng's long career in journalism. Githii offered him a job as a reporter. Ochieng tendered his resignation from the civil service and joined the Daily Nation. Ochieng argues that becoming a journalist would allow him to use his brain, something the job of a protocol officer in the foreign ministry denied him. As a protocol officer, you are not really the decision maker. You do not get to use your brains. You are just required to be very well dressed, he says. His long journey from a cab reporter to the highest echelons of journalism in East Africa's newsrooms had just begun, a journey that has seen him play an important role in shaping the growth of journalism in the region for decades. Becoming a columnist. Unlike many other journalists, upon being hired as a reporter, he proved to be of much use besides writing news. He was entrusted with a weekly column titled Commentary. Not every journalist, in a sense, not every editor has that opportunity. You must be good at something to earn it. That column firmly established his name in the country's media circles and beyond. Describe with big words. Ochieng's style of writing has been the subject of debate for a long time. Many readers said they needed a dictionary close by when reading Ochieng's articles. His style triggered a debate on who he really writes for. It is a question that annoys the fifth columnist. If you want me to help you, then you must struggle to come up to where I am, because I will not stoop down to your level, he tells off his critics. He does not believe a dictionary would help to understand the message in his articles, because it is more about knowledge than complex words. What would help in this situation, he believes, is for people to read widely. He is not only impatient with readers who accuse him of writing for himself, but also fellow journalists who do not read books. Reading should be the chief of occupation for every journalist, according to Ochieng. A journalist should be able to quote poets, historians, scientists, and European writers at will in his writing to spread knowledge. In Dar. Ochieng worked in Dar from 1970 to 1973. He was hired as a reporter and gained entrusted with a column, The Way I See It. General Ulimwengu, who joined the newsroom as an intern from the University of Dar, said of Ochieng, in Dar, Ochieng was viewed as an enigma. To me and to many people around him, he was phenomenal. I had never met anyone with the breadth of knowledge that Ochieng possessed. He could hold his own in discussions of history, anthropology, sociology, literature, theology, etc. Such erudition, such readiness to share knowledge with others. Chief sub-editor for The Nation. Roy Gashuhi says, Ochieng was an interesting fellow in the newsroom. Above the clatter of typewriters, especially towards the evening, when reporters and sub-editors were busy trying to meet deadlines, Ochieng, then chief sub-editor for The Nation, could always be heard shouting. If he mentioned your name, what would follow was almost obvious: arrive here, quote unquote, to seek clarification from the reporter or news editor about a story with missing facts and the like. After giving instructions on what changes to be done to the copy, he would send you away with one word: foolish, quote unquote. However, this was said in a light touch, and journalists never got offended, and those who could pick a few tips on writing a good story actually did. In Kampala, Ochieng also edited the Sunday Times of Uganda. This was after his resignation at The Nation in 1981. Ochieng worked for The Nation for 5 different times and would leave in between to pursue other interests. When he resigned, he was the chief sub-editor, but he stayed at the Sunday Times of Uganda for only 3 weeks, and while at it, ended up in one of Uganda's infamous cells of death for one of his sharp "take no prisoners" writing. Professor Mahmoud Mamdani, his friend, who hosted him after his release from the cells, says of Ochieng's contribution to journalism, people who are literate and of age in the 1980s in Uganda certainly remember his role in Ugandan journalism and his writing. But does Professor Mamdani think Ochieng would have made significant contribution to journalism in Uganda had he stayed on? I have no doubt that Ochieng would have played a noteworthy role in advancing the cause of political journalism in Uganda had he been able to stay longer. Kenya Times editor-in-chief. John Agunda, who worked with Ochieng at the Kenya Times when Ochieng was the editor-in-chief and later at The Nation, says of Ochieng, he came across as a very meticulous and creative man and a workaholic. He was always at his typewriter, either writing something to go into the following day's paper or working on his manuscripts. He was also a very good teacher of up and coming journalists. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you all? My name is